Thank you, John, for your thoughts about how to reimagine real-time with Aerospike. It's now time to introduce our next morning keynote. And I suspect many of you know who Guy Kawasaki is. He was the chief evangelist at Apple and helped launch the Macintosh. He's currently the chief evangelist at Canva and the creator of the Remarkable People podcast, something I would advise everybody who can to dial into. It's quite interesting to hear Guy interview some of the most remarkable people around the world. Guy is a well-known author. He's authored over 15 books, including Wise Guys and Art of the Start. Some of you might have read one of his books. Many of those have made it to the New York Times bestseller list. Guy speaks at over 50 conferences around the world, and his clients include companies such as Microsoft, Google, Nike, and Audi. And we are thrilled to have worked with Guy on his remarks today. So why don't I turn it over to Guy and have him share with you his thoughts on how to reimagine innovation. Guy, over to you.
Hi, my name is Guy Kawasaki. I am the Chief Evangelist of Canva and the creator of the Remarkable People podcast. In a prior life, and I had a long life, I was Chief Evangelist of Apple. I was on the board of trustees of Wikipedia, and I was a Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador. So I've been in Silicon Valley and tech for my entire career. And I've learned a lot about innovation, denting the universe, changing the world, jumping curves, all that good stuff. So for my friends at Aerospike and their customers, this is a keynote speech talking about reimagining innovation, because the technology of Aerospike is enabling you to do exactly that. I think it enables you to do really two great things. One is to do the kind of things that you always dreamed about. And even more interesting, it's going to empower you to do things that maybe you didn't even consider before. You couldn't think about it because the technology wasn't there. So this address is about how to reimagine innovation. Step one. Step one is about expectations. And true innovation, true imagination, it is about getting to the next curve. It's not about duking it out on the same curve. You know, when I was at Apple in the mid-'80s, if you were to ask most Apple customers, so what would you like from Apple? They would have told you, well, better, faster, cheaper, Apple II. No one could describe a Macintosh. No one could describe a mouse-based interface, graphical user interface, WYSIWYG printing, WYSIWYG display, none of that, because everybody was in a box. They were on a curve. Everybody was thinking MS-DOS, Apple II. True innovation, true reimagination of innovation occurs when you jump to the next curve. So here's a classic example from history. Believe it or not, there used to be an ice harvesting industry. So this meant that obviously during the winter, people would go out to a frozen lake or a frozen pond with a saw and a horse and a sleigh, and they would cut blocks of ice. This is ice 1.0. Then they would sell this ice to customers in their local area. Well, for the customers, this was an advantage because now they didn't have to go out in the cold with a saw and a horse and a sleigh. They could just buy cut ice. A few decades go by. Now we're at ice 2.0. Ice 2.0 is much better because with the ice factory, people can deliver ice to your house. You don't have to be in winter. You don't have to be in a cold city. You certainly don't have to be on a frozen lake or a pond. The ice man or the ice woman or the ice boy or the ice girl can deliver ice to your house. Big advantage. Now, a few more decades go by, and now we have ice 3.0. And this is even better. This is even better because now instead of waiting for the ice factory to deliver ice, now you have your own personal ice factory. It's called the refrigerator. You could call it a PC, if you will, a personal chiller. So ice 1.0, harvesting ice out in the winter, in the cold. Ice 2.0, buying ice from a central ice factory. Ice 3.0, refrigerator. Great innovation occurs because you jump to the next curve, not because you duke it out on the same curve. Think about in data storage. Data 1.0, filing cabinets with manila folders. Data 2.0, now it's in local computers. Data 3.0, now it's in the cloud. Great innovation occurs when you get to the next curve. Lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is you have to work backwards. This is, I think, the best way to reimagine innovation. You work backwards from the customers. Now, many companies make a tragic mistake, which is they work forward from what they're currently doing or what their technology enables them to do, what they already know how to do. But if you really want to do this right, you have to get out of that constraint and talk to your customer, meet with your customer, press flesh with your customer, and figure out, working backwards from what they want, what you need to provide. So it's about what they want, not what you can do. And I have to start this off with a negative example. So wrap your mind around this picture. This is a picture of a Kodak engineer. It's 1975. That big thing on the desk in front of him, that is the first digital camera ever created. So what I'm trying to tell you is Kodak invented digital photography. Not some Japanese company, Kodak. Now, imagine if you're this engineer and it's 1975 and you go to your boss and you say, I have figured out a way that people don't have to buy film anymore. Can you imagine having that conversation at Kodak? What would your manager say? Your manager would say, go back into your cube and shut the door, shut the lights, and don't ever say that again. Because Kodak defined itself as being in the chemicals business. We put chemicals on film, chemicals on paper, we expose it to light, and we develop it. Now, if Kodak were working backwards, the thinking would be more along the lines of, well, what do customers get from us? It's not chemicals on plastic or chemicals on paper. What's the benefit they derive from being a Kodak customer? And the answer is people get to preserve their memories. What a concept. So Kodak was in the business of preserving memories. Now, if you're in that business and you're working backwards, I hope you would conclude that, well, what we should do is provide better ways to preserve memories. And a digital sensor on a camera or a phone is a much better way than chemicals on paper or film. So lesson number 2 about reimagining innovation is to work backwards, which is to say, using the kind of technology that Aerospike has, working backwards, what does our customer truly want to do? With that kind of power, that kind of real-time power, what does a customer want to do? What does a customer want to enable their customer to do? So you work backwards from what they want, and then you make your technology, your ability, work forward and meet that need. Lesson number 2. Lesson number 3. Lesson number 3 is that when you have empowering, radical, curve jumping, paradigm shifting technology like Aerospike, you have to ask a very simple question. And the question goes like this. So knowing what we know, working backwards, seeing the trends, seeing what's happening, what conclusion can we derive? So we see this happening, therefore, what is needed? Therefore, working backwards, what is needed for our customer? And this is a very, very simple question. And I'll give you a classic example. Well, not as classic as ice, but still, it's 10 or 15 years old. So you look at what's happening in the world and you ask this question. And here's an example. So let's suppose that it's 10, 15 years ago, and you see that mobile phones are happening. And back then, oh my God, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but a mobile phone used to be the size of a brick. If you were really cool, you had a mobile phone in your car, and it was in your trunk, and there was a wire that went forward, and there was an antenna on your windshield, and oh my God, it was, I don't know, $5,000 or something. This is the Motorola days. Well, as cell phones became smaller and cheaper, and you also saw that they had cameras in them, and they were obviously connected on a data network, you might have said to yourself, well, there's going to be a lot of phones. These phones are all connected, sharing data, and they have cameras. Therefore what? And you might conclude, therefore, what? We should start a picture sharing service. Why don't we call it Instagram? So this is a shot from my Instagram account. And I think that 15 years ago, or whenever this thing started, people could have asked a very simple question. Knowing that we have phones coming with cameras on a data network, therefore what? Let's start a picture sharing service. So looking at the technology of Aerospike and the developments of IoT and e-commerce and all these great things that are happening, you ask yourself, therefore what? Working backwards. And I think it'll help you figure out how to reimagine innovation, what direction you should take. The fourth lesson is get high and to the right. Now, this is not about drugs or politics, believe it or not. It is about positioning and branding and really how your mind should operate right now. So I think that all of life, all of marketing, all of development can be explained by this chart. So the vertical axis measures the degree of differentiation. How unique is your product or service? The horizontal axis measures value. How important is your product or service? How functional is it? How valuable is it? What can it do for customers? And so this is a 2x2 matrix. And I will tell you right now that if you hired a firm like McKinsey, they would charge you $5 million to tell you should be in the upper right-hand corner. So Guy and your friends at Aerospike are telling you this for free. So you need to be in the upper right-hand corner. But let's go through all corners. Okay. In the bottom right corner, we have the corner where you have something useful and valuable, but it is not unique. In that corner, you always have to compete on price. Now, you can be Michael Dell and you can make billions of dollars there. So I'm not saying that's the worst corner in the world. But in that corner, when you're slapping the same Windows operating system on the same hardware, it's going to come down to price. In the opposite corner, diagonally opposite, that's the corner where you have truly a unique product, totally differentiated, but it is of no value. In that corner, you're just stupid. In the bottom left corner, you're stupid and it's crowded. That's where you sell dog food online. There are 5 other ways to buy dog food online, but nobody wants to buy dog food online because, you can make the dog food cheaper, but then you have to add shipping and handling and somebody has to be at home and the dog food is delivered. So it's not that convenient and not that cheap. Then stupid people like me in Silicon Valley, we funded e-pets, iPets, last-minute pets, discount pets, Peapod pets. There were 16 ways to buy dog food online. So it was not really valuable and it wasn't differentiated. So the holy grail of marketing, positioning, branding is that upper right-hand corner, baby, because that's where you are differentiated and that's where you are valuable. So think of the first iPod. When that iPod came out, it was truly unique and valuable. It was the only way that you could get a wide selection of music on a device with an interface that a mere mortal could operate. It was legal to get that music. It was easy to upload the music to your device. There was no other device that could do all those things. The iPod was unique and valuable. So I think, in your mind, you should think about, well, how can I make, quote, the iPod of my market? What can I do that is unique and valuable? This could be a service. This could be a product. You could think of yourself this way as an employee. If you are a unique and valuable employee, raises come, options come, vacations come, time off comes, everything comes. Unique and valuable employee. If you're a unique and valuable spouse, life is good. So I think if you had to have one matrix in your mind for your career, really for your life, this is it, baby. Just think about how you can be unique and valuable in all aspects of your life. Lesson number 5. Lesson number 5, there's a great song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. But if you want to reimagine innovation, you have to don't worry, be crappy. And what I mean by this is, if you think about it, if you are on that next curve, if you had the first refrigerator, looking back, of course, that first refrigerator was a piece of crap, but it was so much better than dealing with an ice factory. For one thing, if you didn't live close to the ice factory, you could not get ice delivered. So it's all about don't worry, be crappy. If you have jumped the curve, your curve jump can have elements of crappiness to it. So look at this picture. This is a picture of Steve Jobs with a Mac 128K. Now, there are two ways you could look at this Mac 128K. Revolutionary, patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, denting the universe, making the world a better place, all that good stuff. Yes, all true. It was a curve jump over MS-DOS. It was a curve jump over the Apple II. But you know what? Let me tell you something. It had elements of crappiness to it. First of all, it was $2,500. That display was 9 inches corner to corner. It was monochrome. Thanks to my efforts, there was no software. That drive that you see in the front plate there, it was 400K. 400K. And had 128K of RAM. And I have to tell you, honestly, we thought 128K of RAM was an ocean of RAM because Apple II had 48K. And then 400K floppy drive, that was 3 times bigger than the 140K floppy drive in an Apple II. So, we thought this was so great. Oh my God. But looking back, it was kind of crappy, but it was a revolutionary piece of crap. And so what I learned is if you wait for that perfect world where there's enough RAM, there's enough horsepower in the chip, there's a color display, flat panel, fast networking, internal hard disk, all that good stuff, you'll never ship and the world will pass you by. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should ship crap, but I am saying that when you have jumped curves, yet that curve jumping effort, that brilliant innovation can have elements of crappiness to it. The sixth lesson. The sixth lesson is to let 100 flowers blossom. This I stole from Chairman Mao, though I failed to see how he actually implemented it. Letting 100 flowers blossom means that you take your best shot at this high and to the right positioning, that you think that, oh, well, to go back in history, the Macintosh division, we thought that the Macintosh would be a spreadsheet, database, and word processing machine. Oops, we were just 0 for 3 there. So, what happened? Well, luckily, there were a lot of developers, not all doing spreadsheets, databases, and word processors. One of them was called Aldus. And Aldus created a product called Aldus PageMaker. And Aldus PageMaker created a field of flowers called desktop publishing. And desktop publishing saved Apple. No kidding. If it wasn't for Aldus, there would be no Apple today. This is a screenshot from Aldus PageMaker. Aldus PageMaker, well, duh, guess what PageMaker did? It allows you to make pages, newsletters, books, magazines, flyers, all the good stuff. Before this, there was really no way. You could kind of hack it around in Mac Paint and Mac Write, but nothing like this. And so the lesson that I learned is, you take your best shot. Spreadsheet, database, word processing. Oops, 0 for 3. Along comes a flower that blooms called Aldus PageMaker. Let those flowers blossom. Let those flowers bloom, because you just never know. You never know who's going to embrace your technology and what they're going to do with it. Take your best shot at positioning and branding and all that good stuff, but then get your product out there, get your service out there, let the flowers bloom, and then fertilize and water the places that are taking root. Don't be proud. Let 100 flowers blossom. Number 7. Number 7 is that in order to truly innovate, you have to be willing to change your mind. Now, I think that many people think that changing your mind is a sign of weakness and stupidity. And that has not been my experience at all. Quite the contrary. I think changing your mind is a sign of intelligence and courage. Let me show you an example. So, when the iPhone was first announced, this is a quote from Steve Jobs. Our innovative approach using Web 2.0 based standards lets developers create amazing new applications while keeping the iPhone secure and reliable. Let me translate Jobs speak for you. He's saying that the iPhone is closed, that the only way you can add functionality to the iPhone is a Safari plugin. And he did it because he wanted to keep the iPhone secure and reliable. Who can argue with that? Who would not want a phone that's secure and reliable? Okay, now fast forward a year. Apple executives to showcase Mac OS X Leopard and OS X iPhone development platforms at WWDC 2008 Keynote. Let me translate this for you. This is saying that we have completely, utterly reversed our stance. the iPhone is now an open system. You can write any kind of app that you want. So we went from closed system in 2007 to open system in 2008, 180-degree reversal. And the lesson that I learned is that if you truly want to change the world, if you want to be innovative, you're going to have to learn to change your mind. And think about what's it take to change your mind. First of all, you have to be smart enough to realize you did something wrong, and then you have to have the moral courage to change your mind. Those are two very important skills. But if you want to reimagine innovation, you're going to have to reimagine some of your decisions, because some of your decisions will be wrong. If Apple had stuck to a closed iPhone system, I don't think the iPhone would exist today. I don't think Apple would exist today. So don't be afraid of changing your mind. Lesson 8. Lesson 8 is, listen, you can reimagine innovation. You can create this curve jumping product or service, but you have to do something very basic, which is remove the speed bumps. Remove all the hindrances and the friction to getting into your product or service. Remove those speed bumps. And here's a classic one. So, who among us enjoys doing this? So we have to prove that we're not a bot or a machine. So we have to select all the images with chimneys, or select all the images with post offices, or select all the images with cars. And, who knows if that picture in the bottom left corner has a chimney on that building way underneath the freeway overpass. But, the system does, but how can I see that chimney? And I don't know about you, but whenever I encounter this or CAPTCHA, it takes me about 4 or 5 attempts. So that's friction. And, at about the third attempt, I'm saying to myself, is this really worth it? Do you really want to join this service? And you just can't put those kinds of speed bumps off. If it would be a crying shame if you truly reimagine innovation and you did something just brilliant with Aerospike and you put up barriers like this, because it's hard enough to get a customer. Why make it any harder with something like this? Okay, remove those speed bumps. I know of a company in the residential solar panel business, and it kind of really removes all the initial speed bumps. Instead of asking for your address and phone number and email so they can arrange for an estimator to come to your house, all they do is they ask you for your address and they look you up on a satellite photo. And from that satellite photo, they can look at your roof and they can figure out which way the house is facing, and how much sun that roof can get, and how big the roof is, and how big the panels can be, how much power can the panels generate, and how much those panels will cost, all from an address. All you had to do was do that. You didn't have to meet with the estimator and do all that kind of crap. That's removing a speed bump. Remove all the speed bumps that you can. Next lesson, churn, baby, churn. Churn, baby, churn, stolen from burn, baby, burn. Churn, baby, churn means that one of the hardest lessons for anybody who has reimagined innovation is that, oh my God, a revolution, a curve jump, it is not simply an event. It's not like you jump curves and the next day, bada bing, bada bang, everything's good. Then your greatest problem is, can you make it fast enough? It just doesn't happen like that. I thought it would happen like that in 1984 with the introduction of Macintosh. Boy, was I wrong. It took about 30 years to really make Macintosh so solid and so successful. Churn, baby, churn. The hardest lesson of all. This is a picture of an iMac Pro from a few years ago. And you just heard this announcement where now iMacs are going to be this beautiful colored thing. I'm not clear to me that I want it in that color, but it's taken that long to get to the M1 chip and the colored iMacs and all that great stuff. And this is, oh my God, 2021. It started in 84 and now it's 2021. If you had told me in 84 it would take till 2021 to get to something like this cool, I would have told you you're crazy, that it's going to happen immediately. So one of the hardest lessons for anybody reimagining innovation is to understand that this process of innovation, it is not an event. It's not like you have the press conference and you announce your new product and the battle's over. That's when the battle begins, when you ship. And this is one of the hardest things, to take version 1, make it 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 2.0. My God, it takes decades. So understand that there are really two kinds of people that are necessary in an organization. One person is the person that creates the curve jump, And then the next kind of person has to maintain and enhance that curve jump. So it takes two kinds of people, and it takes the willingness and the grit to churn, baby, churn. Number 10. Number 10 is that if you're going to reimagine innovation, if you're going to use the kind of technology that Aerospike provides and enabling you to do things you dreamed of, and even better, enabling you to do things you didn't even dream of, but now you can, you're going to have to learn to ignore naysayers. And what naysayers do, well, there's two kinds of naysayers. So one naysayer is obviously a loser. So that's not the dangerous naysayer, because if a loser tells you you'll fail, you probably would ignore that person. Why would you listen to a loser? Only a loser would listen to a loser. The dangerous naysayer is the winner naysayer, the winner bozo, rich, famous, powerful, all this good stuff. And you think rich and famous and powerful parses to smart. I would make the case that rich, famous, powerful, 50% of the time, maybe even more, parses to lucky, not smart. So you have to learn to ignore naysayers, because if you listen to these smart naysayers, famous naysayers, they're going to tell you that it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, it isn't necessary, and you might not even try. And that would be, I think, the worst outcome of all, because then you will never know. So I'm going to give you a little exposure to naysaying. So you keep this in the back of your mind. When you encounter rich, famous, powerful people, and they tell you it can't be done, just remember these, okay? So first one, I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Chairman of IBM said that. 5 computers in the world. I have 5 Macintoshes in my house. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union internal memo. Western Union wrote off telephony in 1876. So you could make the case that the curves of communication were, well, I mean, there are many curves, but starting with drums. So, we go from drums, then we go, we'll skip fast. So we go from drums, then we go to telegraph, then we go to telephone, then we go to smartphone, VoIP, those kinds of things. But man, if you're on the telegraph curve, and you say the telephone curve has too many shortcomings to be considered as a means of communication, oops, I mean, that's kind of a big chasm to cross. So, maybe Western Union thought that everybody could have a telegraph in their house. And how hard could it be to train everybody to use the Morse code? But that'd be pretty hard, actually. So, this is an example of, if you're really successful, you don't embrace the next curve, right? If you have the best ice factory, you probably are not too happy about refrigerators. But refrigerators, the next curve is going to happen whether you're on it or not. One more example. There is no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Ken Olsen, he was a fantastic entrepreneur and innovator. He took us from the mainframe computer business to the mini computer business. That was a huge leap. That was a curve jump. But you know what? He was so successful with mini computers, he could not embrace personal computers. What a bummer. Now, if you think about it, just like whoever was at Kodak, if someone came in to Ken Olsen's office and said, listen, boss, I figured out a way that we can distribute intelligence. So rather than having mini computers with mini computer terminals all connected, we could have a distributed intelligence system. And these computers could be small, and they could be cheap, and they could be easy to use. We could call it a personal computer, Mr. Olsen. But then Mr. Olsen would say, well, who's going to use it? And this person would say, well, they could put theirs in their homes. It doesn't have to be connected to the brains in the center. And he said, well, but there is no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Why would we build this? If Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had gone to Ken Olsen for advice and had listened to him, there would be no Apple, because Ken Olsen would have told him, learn Fortran and COBOL, come work for DEC before you ruin your lives. There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. So this is my take on how you can Reimagine Innovation. And I think that, one of the most exciting times in any technology on any curve is when you have enabling technology that provides this opportunity to do the things you've always dreamed of. And even better, to do things that you couldn't have even dreamed of. And we are at that step right now with the kind of real-time power that Aerospike provides. So I hope you've enjoyed this keynote. I hope you're enjoying this conference. And I really hope that, this information here will enable you to, as in the words of Steve Jobs, dent the universe. Because that's truly the test of innovation and entrepreneurship.